Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and once again it's time for a GPP workout, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like and drop me a comment down below, I'd appreciate it so much. Let's get over to the training. Some of this I decided kind of at the end, you guys will see what I did just with the bicep work. But I decided, look, I just want to start doing some bicep work at the end of some of these. Not a bad idea, just like I did the banded curls last time. So we started off with some med ball throws. I did a few sets of these and did my sled work and came back and did 3 more of the tosses here. So as most of you know, I like these a lot. These are fun. I enjoy them. They're good for full body power, and they seem to be helping with my shoulders in general. But yeah, I'm really learning to enjoy these. Sometimes it's hard to get the lighting right. So it's kind of like the sun is always coming up over the other way. So I'm trying to find good lighting for the camera here, and it's a little hard to do. So again, as it gets warmer later, once winter's over, this will be a little easier, or I may just move it over to certain spots. I'm trying to find good filming angles for you guys, so that we can see pretty good here, but it's all good. So again, I did I think around 5 sets of these, and then I decided, okay, that's enough for now. I wanted to go get my quick sled sprints in, but I felt like I wanted to get a little more. So I'm trying to do a decent amount of explosive work on the GPP days. So I'm trying to do the med ball stuff. I'm trying to do the jumps, especially if I'm not going to do the loaded carries. Right? If we're not going to do the loaded carries, then I would like to make sure I get both jumping and a throw of some type in, so that again we work full body explosiveness. So again, I just want to get a fair amount of these. Plus, I feel like they do so well for my shoulders. And I don't want to do any extra rep work for the shoulders on these days. And I'll explain why as we get over to the bicep training. I've been doing it, but now that I'm overhead pressing, I want to do all my shoulders. I really want to focus on them at the end of my main lifting sessions so I can get that overhead press back and bring the shoulders up so that, but that's its own conversation for the main lifting vlogs. So for the sled work, did a couple sets of sprints. These were my feet noticed today. My feet were like, man, that was kind of tough. So again, I'm going to have to make sure the feet stay tough. I'll probably try to do a run on Saturday, go get another run in, and then do my GPP once Saturday rolls around. But part of it, I just didn't want to get out and do a stream with that today, and that's its own conversation. I just kind of have a lot of things going on today trying to get scheduled, so didn't want to mess with any of that. So again, I want to make sure I always do the sled sprint, so this will keep my conditioning up. And some days I may do more of these than others. I almost think sometimes on Saturdays or whatever, if I'm going to have the day off, doing a run and then pushing some of the sled sprint volume up a little bit wouldn't be a bad idea, just to make sure we get all that leg work in. So again, I'm going to play how my low back feels tomorrow by ear on the squats. But it's not really a big deal because I did a 405 for 7 last Friday, and then I got a training max in with 455 on the high bar on Monday. So the main thing is, like you guys know, I've taken the weighted carries out to make sure that my low back is doing okay, because they were just too much. With me squatting and deadlifting fairly heavy 3 times a week, my low back was starting to really get bothered by the weighted carries. And they don't bother me on deadlifts. They only bother me with the squats. But then I hurt the rest of the morning. And it's not like a pain in the bone or lumbar. It is my erectors just absolutely on the left side starting to cramp. Right? And I can feel it's muscular spasm almost. So again, I'm going to push the reverse hypers a little harder, take the weighted carries out for now. And do this other stuff because I want to be able to squat and deadlift 3 days a week. Those are important to me. They're more important than the loaded carry. So jumping though, I did 3 sets of 5 on the box jump afterwards. Right, so we did med ball tosses, couple sled sprints, and then we did more med ball tosses, and then we did jumps. Right, so this is most of my actual GPP is sorted right here. So again, we don't need huge amounts of stuff here. We really don't need a ridiculous amount of stuff for the general physical preparedness in. So it's just some conditioning stuff, some sled work, and then jumping and throwing type stuff. So again, want to train explosiveness, train a little bit of speed and conditioning, and then obviously the running handles most of the real conditioning. But right now, I'm trying to keep that just at a reasonable level. And the reason is I want to push my training and body composition stuff back up. So again, doing all of it fasted, though, again, will work. So it's kind of funny. Like I know where I'm at in terms of body composition, of body weight, and it's always get people. You looked better at this one time, but I was on lower carbs. I already know right now if I were to just drop my carbs down within 2 weeks, everyone would think I went on trend because then my waistline gets like 3 or 4 inches smaller. But I can't perform as well. So the way I'm training and dieting right now will improve the body composition, even if it doesn't keep my waistline tightened up. And I just don't care. Because at a certain point, winning the body composition and performance in wins. Because again, I already know how to drop water if I need to. So just an FYI, so people who aren't understanding, when they think that I looked better when I was technically not any leaner and definitely not bigger or stronger than I am now, it had to do with diet and water due to being on really, really low carbohydrate. So for me, that matters. So after that, did a set of hanging leg raises. I want to do at least one set of toe to bars just for the grip training, for the shoulder health, and to keep my abs strong. And then we're working on reverse hyper extensions afterwards. So with the reverse hypers, I've bumped the weight up to 420. I did a couple sets of 25, then I just took them out. I don't know. I got over 30 reps on the third set. So again, the reverse hypers, I'm going to push these harder and it's harder for me to get more weight on there. I have to pull red plates off, put some of my blues on that I have to then take back off. So I feel like for now, for convenience purposes, I can probably work with this weight, but I'm just going to scale the reps upwards, right? And we might take these to where we start doing like sets of 50 with this, and that's okay. And most of my training is really high rep. I think people are starting to realize that outside of my top sets, I really want most of my training to be 10 plus reps, right? Most of my training is over 10 reps. So even my bench back off work is kind of like, I did a little heavier yesterday and ended up doing like 8 reps on the back off. But I've been doing a lot of top sets with 225, trying to hit 17, 18, and then trying to get to 20 reps on that. So again, for me, my heavy work is my squat, bench, and deadlift, and that stuff is moderately heavy, but I'm not really going for all out maxes generally. It's rep work. So a lot of it's 4, 5, 7 reps on a top set, and then I'm doing more bodybuilding type of rep. Like people think of as bodybuilding type rep ranges afterwards. So again, chasing body composition, but wanting to maintain that strength and using the squat, bench, deadlift for that. But then we also are getting explosiveness on the GPP days. So in a lot of ways, it's funny. A lot of aspects of conjugate are still in my training, even though my training itself is not conjugate, because the top end work replaces to some extent max effort work. We do lots and lots and lots of reps on everything for hypertrophy, but then I'm also doing explosiveness and GPP. So again, I mean, I have 3 days every week generally where it's dedicated to doing explosive type movements. And then just the general running, the sled work, and just the overall general fitness, something I'm doing. So then after this, here's what I did. I'm like, I wanted to just do biceps. And the reason is I know my biceps are still need work. My triceps are way stronger than my biceps, even though my arms aren't particularly big relative to my torso. In person, everyone thinks my arms are really big in a t-shirt. It's comical. The internet, not so much, especially shirtless. But I know that doing just some curls, but keeping the reps high will help my grip. It'll help my biceps. But I hate trying to squeeze it in at the end of the other training. And then it's kind of like I'd like to work on shoulders and stuff, but I feel like I need to hammer the shoulder work and the overhead pressing and any isolation I do at the end. And that way I have 48 hours before I bench again. I don't want shoulder work interfering with my bench. My bench is really important to me right now. I want to get that bench up. And particularly I'm chasing performance, like quality performance, not ego lifting, because you guys see my stuff is very high quality reps, pause work, no bouncing, everything controlled. And then the same thing, I'm trying to reach goals with the 225 clean reps. I want to get to 20 clean reps. I've done 18 twice. So I don't want my shoulders fatigued, but I need my shoulders to come up. They're absolutely a weak link. All right, for me, if my delts and my biceps just get bigger, if I get leaner, everyone will think I'm a different person. Almost be comical. So I'm like, well, let's do some really high rep curls. I ended up doing 8 total sets of biceps today. And that might not seem like a lot till you realize if I do this up to 3 days a week, that could turn into a lot. But then I do pull-ups and other stuff. So, and I almost feel like I've considered working some rows in here or there after the pull-ups also on the main training days. But ultimately, and guys, hopefully those leaf blowers in the background aren't too loud. There's nothing I can do about it. Just got to accept it. When you live in the suburbs, man, those things run all the time, especially after this last storm. People out there blowing stuff. But at 3 sets of curls, these are around 15 reps to failure, right? So 3 sets using a lighter weight, full range of motion. So I did 3 sets of this, and I did 3 sets of the hammer curls. Those are all like 15, 17, 18 or whatever. So this locks me into a supine position. We're guaranteed that those biceps are working. And then I want to make sure the brachialis and forearms and grip get trained, but it still works biceps. So I did 3 sets of hammer curls to failure, right? And these are only 33-pound dumbbells, so it's relatively light. I think one of the sets I reached around 17. I stopped counting at a certain point. I just do them until the muscle feels like it's giving out, and then we start reaching failure on some of it. So again, this is all very high rep, just pump work, but it is to failure. So it's still high quality sets, fairly strict, taking the sets to that edge. But the other thing is, it doesn't beat me up. So that's the thing. You can come in and do a lot of rep work like this, and it's not going to be a problem for joints and other stuff. Especially, here's the other thing. Why am I changing movements in here? Again, make sure I'm not going to get overuse from it. So, and I'm also making sure every angle gets work, because we have the barbell curl, which is a full range of motion all the way to the top. And then I have this with the hammer curl, almost the opposite. Way more focus on the brachialis with not being locked into a supine position. And then I did a couple sets of banded curls, which those give you really the peak contraction and then the tendon health. So that's the other reason to throw those in, is I want to make sure my tendons don't get any overuse. But I feel like by just doing higher reps on this, it will. And again, it's just kind of bodybuilding it. My other stuff I push a lot heavier, but I do feel like my biceps would probably benefit from just doing higher rep sets to failure, because I feel them a lot more. And I'll just bodybuilder them up. And if this just doesn't work, I run it for a while again, I'll look at it and go, if it doesn't work, I might have to just power building them up. But I feel like I can get away with doing this sort of volume without any sort of overuse, and that's the main thing. Especially when I'm running all these really high carbohydrates, I might as well. And working on body composition, it's a good time to see if I can get these biceps to come up a little bit. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.